Hey you guys, it's me again at MetaVerse Explorer. So today we have another interview with Shahmeer Chaudhry, and he's actually from the Fluidity team. These guys are doing something very unique and something different in the crypto ecosystem at the moment, and they caught my attention in Solana especially. So Shahmeer, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem, mate. So, Shahmeer, before we start, I just want to let everyone know that there are timelines down below. So, if you want a specific item that we're talking about, feel free to go over there. Feel free to subscribe as well. And Shahmeer, can you please start by telling us who you are?
Sure. My name's Shahmeer. I've been in the space for a few years now, mostly as a person that's been fascinated with crypto. And recently, I've been involved in multiple projects, contributing to the space. So we're located in Adelaide, in Australia. And
Hey, Adelaide.
yeah, me and a bunch of friends, we got into crypto about a year ago, and we've been building. So we started out building in the Algorand space, and now we're working on Fluidity. So we're about a team of 8 to 10 developers now, and 2 to 3 business developers. So we're a pretty large team, and we're mostly uni students about to finish our degrees.
Very nice. What degrees are they, if I can ask?
Well, most of us actually met in the computer science advanced degree. We're all bachelor students, so we're pretty much
Very nice. You got a team of young devs.
in the cutting edge of computer science.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are going to make a killing. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, that's why crypto is pretty attractive, because a lot of our team members, we had options. They've had options to join some of the high-end companies in Australia.
Yeah.
Atlassian, Google, and they've decided to go towards crypto.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so talk to us about your product now. You've got 8 people working on this this application or this dApp on Solana, and I think on other blockchains as well, which is Polygon and Compound. No, sorry, you're backed by Solana, Polygon, and Compound. Can you tell us what Fluidity is? What is it in a general sense?
Yeah, sure. So Fluidity is a system actually that allows for the creation of something we call fluid assets. A fluid asset is an asset that's just like another token, a principal token, but it has a magical property that every time you use it, it can potentially pay you a very large price as a consequence of using it without charging you any extra fees. So
Okay.
the way I like to think of it is that imagine you had your USDC or Ethereum or Solana tokens, and every time you use them, you could potentially get hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of free, like more tokens, as a consequence of your spending.
Okay, and so the next question that stems from that is that where does that come from? It has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple, and we borrow this thought process from a project called Pool Together.
Oh, I love All Together.
Yeah, so essentially the way we earn this prize money is through the mechanism that Pool Together employs.
Yep.
What happens is that people come to our platform, they turn their regular tokens into fluid tokens. And what we do with their regular tokens is that we earn interest on it by
Right.
depositing onto different protocols.
Yep.
And that interest or that yield goes into the prize pool.
Right, I
Now,
see.
unlike Pool Together, where after a specific period that they pick winners, for us, it's on a rolling basis, but it only happens when you use that fluid asset that you minted. So you have to proactively use it, that asset, rather than just hold on to it and wait for you to get lucky.
Yeah, right. It's not. It's you have to actually use your token. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But does that mean like it has to be in a liquidity pool, or constantly transferring back and forth, or stopping your bot from sending it back and forth?
That's a great question, and that's a problem that we've been really trying to solve for a very long time. And actually, based on our research, many people have attempted to solve similar problems, but haven't been able to figure out how to stop that very core problem of how do you prevent spam attacks.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay.
what we've developed is what we call an optimistic solution, through something that we've created, a transfer reward function. Now, it sounds sophisticated, but it's very simple. We assumed one thing. We assumed that if the gas fees for doing that sort of attack are more than the prize money you'll be able to extract from it, then there's no incentive for you to attack our system.
Yep, that makes
But
sense. Yeah.
if you were a genuine user that was going to pay that gas fee or that platform fee for doing that action, you are still going to do it, but now you can get exposure to that upside of doing that action.
How does that translate to Solana? The transaction fees are very, very cheap.
Great question. It translates in the exact same way, but it's just that the probabilities of winning are very low because we have to be very strict with that rule.
Right.
But on Solana, we do something even cooler. What we do is we also look at platform fees as a defense mechanism. And when we look at platform fees, we can actually say, well, if you were trading on Saber and you made $1,000 trade, well, you've essentially paid a 40-cent fee to Saber, and you can only pay that fee so many times before you go bankrupt. And we use that as an assumption of gas fees. So we can do that on any platform that charges some sort of fee in a deterministic way. And like an NFT platform where you can you're paying 3% fees, and now you're back at Ethereum level fees on decent sized trades.
Right. Okay. I think I get the underlying principle behind it. So you talked about your team. We talked about your experience a bit. So Fluidity, what's current? Are you guys in a Solana Ignition hackathon, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Can you talk about that for us, please?
Yeah, sure. We've been building on Fluidity for a while, but only until recently we started really, building in the Solana ecosystem.
Yep.
And we've been getting a lot of support from this ecosystem, from community, from Solana themselves, from other developers in the space. And for the hackathon, we just wanted to build our MVP out and deploy our contracts on Solana just to see it work.
Yep.
And we've got a core MVP up and running internally that we're just fixing up now, so we can start onboarding the next 100,000 or thousands of users.
Yeah,
just
10,000 users.
Yeah.
So tell us about the experience of building the MVP for the hackathon. How did you guys cope with it?
It was rough because we didn't have the Rust experience. We only have one person really that's really good at Rust in our team. But a lot of the problems we actually faced was on ways we couldn't even imagine or couldn't figure out why. And so it was just a bit of luck and a bit of just good fortune that it did start working right before the hackathon deadline. But these are things that we're probably going to be working with Solana to try to optimize and fix up.
Right. Okay. So it was difficult to start with, but you guys probably have way more experience now and feel a bit more confident about the product and what you built.
Yeah, I mean, in principle, it's robust. It works, but there's some issues that are out of our control, unfortunately, that we need to just get a bit more control on.
Yeah, but that's development in a sense, isn't it? You just have to start building, reiterate, go to the next version, and just improve on your product, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so before the interview, we actually talked about something, and you were very passionate about it. Talk to me about the utility problem. What is the utility problem? And for someone that has never heard of this, can you give it a brief example or a brief explanation, please?
Sure. I like to look at liquidity mining as a counterexample to what I would like to say is an example for the utility problem. So a lot of protocols are launching these days, and they have very robust liquidity mining programs. I apologize for the noise. And with these robust liquidity mining programs, they have billions of dollars of liquidity, yet nobody's using them.
Yep.
Because a lot of liquidity is unfortunately mercenary liquidity.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that
come and go, farmers.
Yeah, exactly, and they necessarily don't have the right incentives. I believe liquidity is great, and I believe that a lot of protocols, get a lot of value out of this. But we want people to actually use crypto. And if all the incentives are aligned in holding on to it and just providing farming incentives, then there's no incentive for people to use crypto. And we're trying to build a system that actually changes that.
Yep. Okay. So what have you guys... So you're trying to implement this into Fluidity at the moment. I guess that's what it is.
Well, essentially what we're trying to say is that imagine if you were able to get yield or liquidity awards as a consequence of your spending and using platforms rather than just providing liquidity. And that's a really cool mechanism that we can do because of the system that we've created. Is we can somehow we can actually incentivize users to use crypto platforms and receive rewards as a consequence of doing so, and potentially even stay as long-term customers because they have to actually proactively use those platforms to get their rewards. And in that process, they might be able to say, hey, this is actually a cool project. I might actually use it because unfortunately, as a liquidity miner, you don't even have to sometimes interact with the platform. You just provide liquidity and you set and forget until it's time to come harvest.
Yep. And sell after you harvest.
Yeah.
So you were talking more about rewards. Can you tell us about the economics of the rewards behind Fluidity?
Well, the way our reward function works is that there's actually a really good chance for everybody to win something.
When you use it.
So when you use it, a lot of times it depends on some of the parameters, but essentially, almost every other transaction will win something as a consequence of using a fluid asset. But there will be once in a while that, we're targeting towards about once in a quarter. So once every 3 months, someone will win a mega jackpot prize, and this could be over $10 million. Yeah,
that's crazy. That could change a few people's lives just for actually using the product that it's supposed to be used for.
Yeah, and the cool part is that you can use it anywhere. So you don't have to use our wallets, or you don't have to use a platform that has to integrate Fluidity in like a very intimate way. It's just a regular SOL token or regular ERC20 token.
Right. Okay.
It could be used in any wallet. It could be used on any platform that accepts tokens. So on day one, you could list it on Uniswap or any of those exchanges, and in a trustless manner. And it works.
So in my mind, that kind of sounds like it's a wrapped token. Is that correct? Like an F-Sol? Is that what it is?
Exactly. That's how it is.
Right. Okay. So once you have F-Sol, there's nothing stopping someone from actually using this to provide liquidity somewhere else, is there? Like they could still have the token and they could, try and earn a yield from it instead of using it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They could do it because our tokens are fully collateralized. So, one F-Sol will give you one SOL in perpetuity. You can redeem it whenever you'd like.
Yep.
But that's the cool thing, right? People could do that. But the very principle of using a fluid asset is that you're essentially, the longer you don't use it, you're losing yield to the people that are using it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like an inverse of how the current interest-bearing products are working. So if you're holding a staked asset like MSOL, you're earning interest when you're holding it.
Yep.
With us, you're earning interest inversely when you're using it. Mm-hmm. So it's a new primitive where
like it flips on its head. It's different.
Yeah.
So talking about that, about flipping the whole system on its head, I can't really think of any competitors to you guys. Do you think you have any competitors, or have you found a product that like is a niche and hasn't really existed before?
I think we're at this intersection of building something really new that hasn't been done before, and it's mainly because of that core problem where how do you prevent people from attacking our system? And that's the reason why something like this hasn't existed before. And it will be a really cool economic experiment once we do launch and see how people behave with this, because of that massive upside of potentially millions of dollars on every single transaction you do. But I guess the closest thing that comes to us is Pool Together, because of the way they do the no loss with generating yield.
Yep.
But Pool Together is simply a hold on to it and see if you get lucky. With us, it's use it like you normally would at no extra fees, but you might get lucky.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like the more we talk, the more I'm starting to understand it, and the more benefits it could have for actually using the tokens you're supposed to use. You actually did have some slides here for us to look at. Do you want to have a look at the slides now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. So I've got slide 0 here. Talk to us about Fluidity.
Cool. So one of the cool things that that Fluidity provides is that we've created a system that's really emphasizing on feedback loops, because that's something that we really want happening. So firstly, like I mentioned earlier, you can use it anywhere. So it's a regular token, and we ensure that we follow the standards. And unfortunately, with that, it requires us to do a lot of computation off chain, because we want to make sure that it's a very smooth experience.
Yep.
So one of the cool things of that is that you don't pay any extra fees for using a Fluid token than if you use the regular variant. So this especially is relevant on Ethereum. So you're not paying extra gas fees or paying us any fees for using Fluid token.
There's no underlying kind of fee structure that goes to Fluidity. Or the
exactly. And this is the reason why we try to balance everything out, because why would you use something else? Because you're not paying any more fees to us, nor you're. So there's that upside there. Secondly, our goal is that any use case on chain qualifies, for a transaction. So when we say qualifying for a transaction, that means it goes from one wallet to another. So it moves from one wallet to a smart contract to a wallet, or something like that, right?
Yep.
So practically every single form of transaction on chain qualifies for a prize. And we think this is cool because now you can use it on any use case. You purchase an NFT, you provide liquidity, you withdraw liquidity, you do a swap. Yeah, you buy something, even at a store. So I think this is one of those products where people will be actually using this very actively. And because of the unlimited use cases, but also the fact is that you could also, there will be probably novel use cases that we haven't even thought about that people would use this for. And especially games, right? Like games is a hard one to think about. Imagine every time you buy an in-game currency. If we can turn those into Fluid assets, that's really, really cool.
Or like every time you kill a monster, there's a chance for you to get an increased loot or something.
Yeah, or something like that. Because, as long as the transaction happens on chain and there's some sort of value transfer, it qualifies for a Fluid award potentially.
That makes sense.
I guess this kind of leads me into my second point. Both parties actually receive a prize. So right now we've set it at 80-20. So if I send you 100 Fluid USDC and I win, let's say $1 million, you get 200,000 as a consequence of me winning.
That's great.
So we think that this will create feedback loops where, if a friend's paying you back, you're like, pay me back in the Fluid version. Because I also get a prize if you win. And we think this is very powerful in onboarding merchants and retail users because
Sorry, mate, you're just cutting out a bit there. Could you repeat the last sentence, please? Some technical issues, guys. We'll see what happens.
Especially in retail environments, because merchants do a lot of volume, especially inbound. And if their customers are winning,
Shahmeer, you've just gone quiet there for a second. Oh, you're back.
Hey, are you there? Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi just disconnected.
That's okay, that's okay. I think you were talking about the 80-20 split, about how it incentivizes people to, actually use the product.
Yeah, where this is really powerful is merchants and, people that accept Fluid assets, because we can argue it's a great thing for users, but what does the receiving party get? Because there is like small, and the way our incentive mechanism has been designed is that every time someone wins, a portion of that prize goes to the receiving party, and this causes a feedback loop because a receiving party now is interested in using Fluid assets because they also get a portion of the action. So both parties now have an interest in accepting Fluid variants.
Yeah, that creates like an incredible incentive loop for people to just use it.
Yeah, exactly. So as more merchants start realizing, hey, my customers are, winning a lot or helping me win a lot of prizes, well, now I'm going to start accepting it, and then more customers start getting used to it because merchants are pushing forward to it. So this can create a very powerful effect.
Yeah. I see that happening, to be honest. I do see it. We'll go to slide number 2 that you had for us.
Sure. So this goes a little bit into how...
the mechanics behind it.
Yeah, so these are 3 functions that we've created. The first one, as we mentioned, is the optimistic solution. And the reason why we call it optimistic is because it's a very simple way of solving this very core problem that many people have tried to solve over a very long period of time. And that problem is like, how do you prevent attacks on our system when people are, can simply send money back and forth? And yeah, and it's kind of simple. The way we've designed it is that we say, well, if gas fees or platform fees are more, then the reward you get, then there's no incentive to attack our system. But if you were gonna pay those fees, regardless, well, now you have a lot of incentive to get something in return for nothing.
And that's what the elastic sigmoid curve is, and the transfer reward function. That's what it's explaining.
Well, the transfer reward function is even cooler than the original thing, because the transfer reward function actually acts as like a difficulty readjustment for us. So if people stop using fluid assets, every block it gets easier to win a larger prize, and easier and easier and easier. And as soon as people start realizing, hey, right now the probability of winning a mega jack again, and it'll start going down. So it acts like, similar to Ethereum or Bitcoin's difficulty.
Yeah.
When people stop mining, it gets easier to mine, and when people start mining, it gets more harder. So this is a great way we ensure that people are consistently using fluid assets, but it also has another consequence that we need, and that's to ensure that the interest that we're earning is enough to cover the prizes that we're paying out.
Of course.
So it ensures that we're not paying out more in prizes than we are earning from the yield that's being generated. So it helps make sure that we don't go bankrupt, but it also acts in a really cool way as a difficulty readjustment.
Yeah, I think most people in crypto would understand that, the difficulty adjustment. And I'm also reading the elastic sigmoid curve now. So there is rewards for governance token holders. So that leads me to my next question, which if using Fluidity doesn't actually, if there's no fees and there's no fees going to a separate entity, where does the governance token holders derive their value from?
Ooh, this is a really
cool. You do have a token now, I guess.
Yeah, this is a really great question, and the answer to this is twofold.
Yep.
The governance in our system works in a really, really cool way. So firstly, we have this cool mechanism that we want to employ where every 2 weeks or some sort of period, we do a vote, and we vote on improving odds of winning when you do specific actions or when you interact with specific protocols. And what this will do is, imagine, let's say, if we say, all right, if you use 0x compared to if you use Uniswap, well, we'll give you a double chance of winning when you do the very same swap, right? And this is where this utility thing becomes really important, because imagine the liquidity version of this problem, right? Imagine if you provide liquidity on exchange A and you got double the rewards than if you provide liquidity on exchange B. Well, you're gonna move your liquidity to exchange A. A rational person would.
Yeah.
And this basically embodies the very same thing in terms of actually using. Imagine if you had a double chance of winning when you use exchange A when compared to if you used exchange B. So for that short period, what will happen is people that are using fluid assets, they might just say, well, I really like Uniswap and I use it, but I want a double chance of winning. And so they might actually move their utility or their usage over to 0x if 0x wins this vote. And this is where it's really cool, because now not only do these projects get more users, but they also earn more fees because users are using their platforms more.
Yep. Users are coming more to their platform, so they get
more fees. Inherently that is valuable. Yeah, exactly. And inherently this is very valuable, to governance use cases, because now governance can actually derive value out of this, and the whole crypto protocol can. And the second thing that governance token holders can do, and this is a bit complex, so I'll try my best to explain this in a very non-complicated way.
For us plebs, we don't know anything about crypto. Explain to us if you want us to use.
So imagine this scenario. Imagine if you were holding on to this governance token, and as a consequence of doing so, you get a higher chance of winning a larger prize, right? Because prizes can be pretty large. We want to incentivize people that are proactively participating in our system, like liquidity providers, governance token holders, people who use the system. And the way we do that is by giving them a higher chance of winning a larger prize, right?
Yep.
And so this is, this can be represented as an NFT of sorts, because you could have an NFT that says, all right, well, if whoever holds this NFT can, has a double chance of winning, for example, right?
Yep, makes sense.
So you can then sell that NFT as a governance token holder. So eventually, let's say 6-month period, you get like arbitrary double chance of winning. Let's say you get that, right?
Yep.
You can mint that as an NFT, and then sell it to a speculator, because there will be people in the system that say, hey, I really want to win this mega prize. It could be millions large, right?
Yep.
And they will actually start purchasing these NFTs to improve their expected outcome of winning. And so as a governance token holder, or as a person who's providing liquidity, essentially you're getting this inflation, but it's not inflation at a token level. It's inflation at this abstract level of luck, right? Because we're improving your luck.
Yeah.
And there'll be people
to the next person.
Yeah, to someone that wants to actually try to win this mega prize. Because people will be doing their mathematical modeling, and they'll say, well, I actually think I have a really good chance of winning a larger prize.
Yeah, right.
So we're still working on how this looks like, but I think this might be a great way for governance token holders and people who use Fluidity to earn yield, because there's no guarantee you'll win a mega prize or a large prize, but there's a really good chance you will win something as a consequence of using Fluidity, because most of the time there is a 40% chance of winning a prize. So almost every transaction has a 50% chance of winning something.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance you win something.
And is that the same? Is that the same odds we see on slide number 2?
Yeah, exactly. But these odds do basically change
based on difficulty.
Yeah. But assuming that there's $100 million in liquidity and there's 50,000 daily transactions, and the average transaction pays a $3 gas fee, so Ethereum-centric model.
Yeah.
There's a 42% chance that you win 6 cents when you do a transaction. It's not a lot, but it does add up. If you're doing a lot of transactions.
Yeah.
And remember, you're playing for that mega prize of $3 million, because every transaction, has these odds. And this is what's super cool about our system. It's not that you have to wait after, let's say, 30 days or a month or 3 months to, claim your prize. You get that within the next block if you do win.
Yep.
So it's instant feedback from a user point of view. And every single time you do a transaction, you get a free, shot at it. Within a block, you find out if you won or not. So this is what makes it super, super cool. Because, you don't have to wait like 3 months to see if you won your prize. You get it in the next
instantly, next block.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn, that's crazy, man.
And we think that this is a really cool system, because users want instant feedback, and people just don't have patience.
No,
and
not in this day and age. We want everything fast.
And once you bundle that with winning millions with no extra fees, I think that's gonna create that really that it's gonna create that catalyst potentially that brings retail to crypto, especially if they're purchasing like their daily groceries with crypto, if they're doing all their transactions with crypto. Well, I mean, every time you pay for something, if you can win millions and within one block get your prize, I think that's a really cool incentive for people to have.
I totally think so. I would definitely agree. That brings me to my next question though. When governance token, do you guys have any timelines for this? I know you're still building. You have your Solana Ignition hackathon going, but do you have any ideas on when this token might be released?
Well, it really depends on how well our beta goes.
Yep.
And how well received our product is.
Yep.
We do plan on launching sometime later this year, maybe towards December or early to mid-January.
Yep.
Just so we can get a really strong start with this. But we're also building what we call a utility mining program, which is instead of only rewarding liquidity miners, we actually reward people governance tokens for using Fluidity.
Nice.
And we're also actually talking to other projects that will want to participate in this system, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if you trade on a new decentralized exchange and only just giving liquidity providers tokens, they're also giving utility people who are actually using the project's tokens, for using their protocol.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So
It sounds like you guys have some good plans ahead of you.
yeah, we're getting a lot of interest as well,
Yeah,
especially from decentralized exchanges, marketplaces, and stable coins. Like the very stable coins out there, people they want to build more use cases for
yeah,
people using them,
yeah.
but
People
people
have
aren't.
lots of stablecoins just sitting in the wallets, not really doing much. They want to go to a impermanent loss LP provision. So if they want to actually use it, they might actually earn something.
Yeah, and especially for algorithmic stablecoins, the ones that need use cases, because a lot of times, a lot of algorithmic stablecoins, they're sometimes used as speculative instruments. If they were actually being proactively used, they might actually withstand the test of time. So there's some really cool things we could do with this, especially with like even Terra or some of the Solana native stablecoins.
Yep. I know UpFi is the newest, maybe not the newest, but one of the algorithmic stablecoins in Solana at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's the next iteration for Fluidity? So you guys I don't know, but you might win the Solana Ignition Hackathon. I hope you guys do, because it looks like a great product. What's the next iteration of Fluidity? What are you guys up to right now, and what's the next phase for you guys?
So right now we're focused on getting our beta users onboarded.
Yep.
We're building the next version of our dashboard. We're testing out the UI. Just today we built so much of the infrastructure required to build daily quests, start providing ways for people to actually get points when they, send transactions and stuff.
Yep.
And even, use Fluidity on like some test cases. Like we might deploy a version of Uniswap on our private testnet just so you can actually trade on, a Uniswap like product.
Yep.
And see how that goes.
See how it goes. Yeah.
So once we get a solid foundation on that, we will invite more and more people onto the beta, because we've had almost 15,000 sign up, but we will invite people in batches of 100 and then maybe batches of 1,000, and then invite everybody. And the more people that stress test our system and the more robust it is, then we can actually see that, hey, this algorithm actually works.
Yep.
And we actually had a university here in Australia look into our algorithms and our math, and they actually kind of helped us quite a fair bit in validating what we created. They're RMIT. They recently were awarded the second best blockchain university in the world. So they have a really robust economics department. So they've been extremely helpful.
Amazing. You guys are making waves. You don't even have a governance token yet. Man, you had 8 devs you built like at the head of the pack for most of these projects in crypto.
Well, we think what we have is really, really cool, and we want to just give it a good shot. I think the idea is amazing, and if it works out, the impact could be crazy big. Especially with like the way people think about money. They might start thinking about money as a thing that rewards them to use it. It's just its nature, rather than something that you dread spending.
Yeah, I know. I can't start talking about money nowadays. Jesus Christ. So it's been 30 minutes so far, 33 minutes actually. So we'll start wrapping up the interview for now. I've got 2 questions for you.
Sure.
So for the Fluidity, for you yourself and your 8 devs next to you, what do you think about the Solana Ignition hackathon at the moment? What are the products or dApps or current trends in Solana that you guys are interested in or think really is needed in Solana actually?
I think one of the things that Solana suffers, it suffers from its own success. So one thing we noticed that when we were testing our server or our system out, there was just so much demand on the Solana RPC endpoint that we weren't able to query the information we needed in like high volume.
Right.
So that's one of the issues, but I think that's a good thing, because these things are being worked on, and we actually found a solution to our problem. But another thing that I'm noticing from the Solana ecosystem is that Solana is being very, has probably one of the best business development teams in my experience. They're very, very proactive, and they snap up talent very quickly. So, and that's great for them. But I do think that Solana suffers, unfortunately, a little bit from like devs, and also like new projects. Projects that aren't just like Ethereum version, but on Solana.
They're just copies of Ethereum or Matic onto Solana.
And that's hard, because there's only so many types of DeFi or crypto primitives out there that you can create
Yep.
that, that already probably exist on different chains that are now being, built onto Solana. But I think like us taking a Solana first approach, even though we're on Ethereum as well, but we're focused on like a Solana first approach, might really help like, Solana get this new narrative that there's some actually really cool projects being built. But I also have been other devs and teams in the Solana ecosystem, and there's definitely some really cool stuff being built. So I think as time progresses, Solana will, build a name for some really, really cool projects.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they do these hackathons with such large prizes, it brings the best of the best talent. And it's working, in my opinion. It's working because statistics, don't lie. The numbers don't lie. Every time they do one, like double the amount of projects are being built.
Right. Yeah, like what is it, 560 participants?
Yeah.
Projects. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I would definitely agree with you that like we're seeing mostly copy stuff coming from other chains onto Solana, and we haven't really seen many innovative Solana-specific dApps that actually utilizes Solana, like transaction speed and costs, and makes a new product out of that isn't seen on another blockchain. I think we're really missing that on Solana at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like initially a bad thing, because what has like known to work is good that you try to put it onto Solana because it does work.
Yeah.
But it gets a little bit
time to experiment.
Yeah, but eventually people say it's time for something new. Something that Solana has embedded. Yeah. And right now with this whole DeFi 2.0 narrative coming back, and Ethereum's at the forefront. So some of the newest DeFi projects, they all launch on Ethereum first, which I understand. Like the liquidity is on Ethereum, but I do think Solana is able to capture that market, and we'll see that happening very, very soon.
Yep. Okay, so I've got one last question for you, Shahmeer. What kind of advice would you give to someone? It doesn't have to be crypto related, doesn't have to be real life related, whatever kind of advice you would give to someone. My personal advice is always use a ledger and go for exercises once in a while. What do you think?
I think the best advice probably would be, don't sweat the small things. And this is bigger, and I know it sounds very cheesy, but it's a very, very important tenet of my life, because things tend to work out, and they tend to work out in probably the ways you have not imagined. In front, like you mentioned, it seems like we're this killer team that's like building like crazy, and is falling our way into success. But there's been a lot of work that has gone into this that a lot of people just don't see behind the scenes. Granted, we've been really fortunate. We've been able to receive grants from Polygon, Compound, Solana, Lido as well. So it seems like wow, these uni students were able to accomplish so much. But at the same time, we were doing so much in the background. And every time there was that small hurdle or failure, it initially took a big toll on us, because we're like, oh no, nobody's interested in this. This will never work. But because we really didn't think too much about those small things, in the grand scheme of things, everything just start working, and that's the weird part of all of this.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Don't sweat the small stuff. There's a bigger plan out there, and it'll work out the way you don't expect it to.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the right vision and you have the resilience to go over every bump, I think the world has a way to reward people who do that.
Cool. Good advice. Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is the MetaVerse Explorer, and we've been talking to Shahmeer from the Fluidity application. They have a Solana Ignition hackathon application in at the moment, so feel free to go there. I'm going to leave the link for them down here below, so you can go and vote for them and actually find out more about them. I'm also going to leave their link for the Twitter, leave their link for their Discord for you to go and join them, be part of the community, and use this amazing application that might actually win you some money instead of just your money just sitting in your wallet doing nothing for you. Shahmeer, if you have any last words for people, now's a good time.
I would just say, if you're interested, come to our Discord, say hi. There's many ways to get involved, and we need the community support to bring this to the next step, because we can only do so much without the community.
Yeah, well, talking about community, I want to say thank you for coming on to this small interview with myself here. So yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me. I had
yeah.
a great. Yeah.
No problem, man. I hope university treats you well, and I hope you guys do very well in the Ignition hackathon as well. I'm fairly sure you will get some VC backing and some extra eyes on you guys, because this is a great product, I think.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. I'm not going to force you. See you later. Thanks again for watching. Ciao. Bye, Shahmeer. Thank you.
Bye.